Welcome to the realm of magic and mystery, classic horror and sci-fi. You are now entering the House of the Unusual podcast with your hosts, Eddie and Joe.
Welcome to another exciting week of House of the Unusual. I am so excited this week since as of the 27th of this month, my book finally became published. And now when I'm saying book, is the Chuck Caputo and Eddie Guevara Skull Magic book. It's called the Skull Magic Unleashed is the title. Skull Magic Unleashed. It's offered in hardcover and softcover. The hardcover for some reason has a 6 to 7 week delay. So if you place an order for one, it's going to take that long to get it. I believe the estimated time span would be the December 12th to December 19th is where I was told when I was placing an order for it that I would be getting it. The soft cover is available immediately. You could get it in 2 to 3 days from ordering it. It can be found in Amazon.com, and that is Skull Magic Unleashed. This is a collaboration. I mentioned it last week between me and Chuck. And, it's a phenomenal book. In fact, when I actually got a copy of it, the review copy, I was shocked at how good the book is. I wound up with 5 review copies, and I wound up giving them away right away for people to review and make sure that there's no mistakes on it, whatever, even though I had everything proofread several times and stuff, it's a new book. So, but again, I'm very excited about it. Anybody who's listening out there could get a copy by going to Amazon.com. And again, I'll say one more time, the title is Skull Magic Unleashed by Chuck Caputo and Eddie Guevara. The book is also offered in the hardcover. Now, the price of the paperback, which is 9 by 10, is $21.95, and the hardcover is $30. So, whatever you like. Some people like hardcover, some people like softcover. I just like books in general. I usually tend to buy the hardcover edition for anything that I want to last me a long time. But like I said, it's everybody has a choice of what they want to make or do. So I hope you guys get the book. And the most important thing that I want to ask for those who do buy the book is to please give us a 5-star review on it if you feel that we earn 5 stars. We actually work very hard on this book, and I'm hoping that you will give it 5 stars. And I probably will be taking the book to Chiller Theater on April, the third week of April, which I'm going to be actually hosting a show this time. I was supposed to do it 2 weeks ago. I canceled it. It was too much. It was overwhelming. My son was getting married, and so I figured I'm going to do the April show. So please, if you have a chance and you want to meet up with me, come down to the April show, and we'll be more than happy to, chat a little. Now, one of the things I also want to say is my brother has been he has his IT department working on the new House of the Unusual website. I got today an actual look at what it's going to look like, and I'm pretty excited about it. I believe tomorrow they're going to call me, the IT department, and we're going to go over some details, make sure that everything's running as I want it. Like I said, it's a very good-looking site, and I'm happy about that. Now, the other thing I was going to say is David, I'm going to ask him when he's going to be working the latest issue of Stupid Comics, and that's because he's actually running a full-page ad there for me. He normally runs an ad which is for the podcast, but he's actually running one now for the Haunting Record, which I'm going to be soon putting into production. I'm duplicating the original vinyl, and Richard Hilliard has been phenomenal in recasting the original ad. He actually retouched it, redid it from scratch. This is the original ad from the comic books. It looks phenomenal. In fact, it's great. There's nothing better to say about it except that it's astronomically great. Another thing I wanted to bring to you guys out there is that in the near future, and I'm trying to shoot before the end of the year to do this, I was going to start running live auctions from my personal office. And what I mean by live auctions, I'm going to be running them either on eBay. No, I'm sorry, not eBay, YouTube, or I'm going to try Facebook. But it's going to be live auctions where I'm going to be there standing next to the products I'm going to be selling. And then I have to see what program I'm going to be using where people can actually call in or they can, put in a bid for an item or whatever. I'm trying to do this because using eBay is a great thing. I mean, the sales are great, but the fees are a little bit really too much. And I mean, my idea is always to sell things on the cheap, not to sell things so high because of whatever reason and fees. And then the customer winds up paying for something they shouldn't be paying. I mean, recently I sold an original Frankenstein. I'm talking about the 7-foot plastic version one, and I was shocked when the fees were over $130 for something I sold for $569. I mean, that's just ridiculous. I mean, I could see a couple of fees, but not fees that high. Etsy, on the other hand, has been a good place where the fees overall in Etsy I think are 3.5 regardless how much you sell or how whatever items you have. eBay can go as high as 15%, but the problem is you have a market on eBay of 150 million compared to 50 to 60 million from Etsy. So Etsy is more like a kind of like a female backed site that it's more DIY, things you build and things you make and vintage stuff. So it does good, but not as good as eBay does in the sales of novelties and magic tricks. Again, I'm trying to have my website where my website will have all my products, and I will use eBay to draw customers to my website and Etsy as well, along with ads in Instagram and TikTok and all that stuff. But again, it's a work in progress. I've been working very hard from the beginning of this year to get to where I am today. And to be honest, it hasn't been easy. It has not been easy at all. But I'm trying my best, and a lot of my friends have helped me. Chuck, his wife, Todd Mitchin has put his thing, Richard Hilliard, and of course, who cannot forget Joe Povlansky, who actually started the podcast with me. Now, Joe has been on a slight hiatus, missing in action from a podcast because he's been running into a couple of issues between his job and a thing he does, one of his businesses. And, we're trying to see where we can get him back full time in the show again. He'll probably, he might be on in the next couple of days. I have to talk to him this week and see, we can work around his schedule. But like I said, all of us have been overwhelmed, and what more to say than other than we're doing this in order to keep you people out there happy, and that you can come back and remember those wonderful years. Now, about a couple of days ago, when my brother was over here from Florida, we decided to take a ride to the New York City, to the town where I grew up in, and we went to Washington Heights, where I was raised, in Manhattan. And I took pictures of the building where I was in and the apartment where I used to live. I took a picture, of course, outside the door. I wish I could have gone inside. I wasn't going to knock on the door and say, hey, can I see? It was kind of like later in the evening. But one thing that I could say, though, is one of the things that really made me think for a while is I was looking at the building, and I remember where the mailboxes used to be. They were under the stairs, and apparently they were moved to the left side of the building, inside the main lobby. But I remember, going back in time in, early 1970s when I would place orders for comic books for, like the 7-Foot Ghost, and my all-time favorite, it was actually my all-time favorite is the 7-Foot Monster Ghost, but I also ordered the 7 Feet Frankenstein. And I remember coming down, and whenever I came in from school or came down the stairs, I was always wanted to check the mailbox to see if my package had arrived. And when I did get the 7-foot Frankenstein, I remember I would tell the mailman to look for a large box that I would be receiving, since I used to think the 7-foot Frankenstein was some type of blow mold type of figure. I thought it was going to be actually a round 7 feet tall monster. What I could say though is that the little while I was in New York, we were there about an hour and a half, 2 hours. I was really, brought back in time, and I was remembering so much of that time, and it kind of was a little sad that time has been, gone for so many years, and most of the people that were there have gone. But I was shocked that there was one particular guy in the building who he told me he had been there from 1978, and he said he was 66 years old. I looked at him for a second, and it didn't dawn on me that, I was saying, wow, this old guy's been here. But the problem is that when that guy was there in 1978, he was only 6 years older than me, so we were both kids at the time. I'm still shocked that he's living in the same building this long, but, that's the way life is. Time is hard on everybody, and time doesn't pick sides. It's definitely not in any way, to one individual. It's just overall, it just affects everybody, And one thing I'm going to say is that the sense of going back and the sense of looking at the block I used to live and stuff made me wonder about one thing. And that is that no matter how much we do in our life or how far we go ahead, and, we have families, we have kids, and we get older with time, one thing is certain, though, that the memories we have are what we take with us. And I was remembering all the stuff and walking in the street, and then when I looked at the mailboxes and stuff, and I was brought back to a time that was so different from today. And the only reason it was different is because back in the 70s, New York was, I think, in the brink of bankruptcy. And, I was young. I didn't know that. I didn't feel any difference. I was happy. I would go and, purchase my toys with my mom, and I looked forward for those days when Christmas would come, and then early in the morning there would always be snow or it was very cold. And I remember opening up all my Christmas toys, and my main thing that I loved the most was I would open them up, but once I saw what the toy was, I would lay them out next to my bed not on the floor. I used to have this trunk, a wooden trunk, and I would put it like on top of the trunk and align them really nicely so that the next morning, because we used to open our toys on Christmas Eve, so I would wait till the next morning, and I get up super early just to open one toy at a time, but I wanted to do it by myself. I didn't want no one to help me open them and stuff, so I always kept my toys in great condition. And I still remember that particular Christmas where I received the Haunted Mansion from Lakeside, the Haunted Mansion game, and I received my I believe it was what was it called? It was the TV Magic set, but there was a name to it. The Deluxe, Deluxe TV Magic set, which came in a huge black box, and and then I also had the Ghost Gun, the Hasbro Ghost Gun. Those three items, when I got them, I was so excited, and I remember putting them next to my bed and getting ready for the next day to open them, and then, of course, bringing my friends over to play. But anyway, guys, I just thought I'd reminisce with you a little bit back in time here, and I wanted to say thank you for listening this week, and now we're going to have our friends Chuck and Cheri take over the second half of the show, so go ahead, Chuck. The floor is yours.
Okay, Okay, guys, thanks for tuning in again. I have my beautiful wife, Cheri, here.
Good morning.
Or good evening, whatever the case may be. But we have some more interesting facts. I think this is a pretty cool little segment we've been doing, so we'll do it every once in a while. Here's something pretty interesting. Australia is wider than the moon. The moon sits at 3,400 kilometers, which is 2,113 miles in diameter, while Australia's diameter from east to west is almost 4,000 kilometers, or 2,485 miles.
Wow.
That's pretty interesting.
That's pretty big. Wow, that's large. Okay. Scotland actually chose the unicorn as its national animal. In the Celtic mythology, the fictional creature is connected with both chivalry and dominance, as well as purity and innocence.
Now, that's pretty amazing. I had no idea that they'd pick a fictional creature.
That is something.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
No. All right, here's something about foods. Avocados are not vegetables. They're actually a fruit because they are single seeded berries, which I'm sure you probably knew that, Cheri, being a nurse. And
Excuse me. The Eiffel Tower gets taller in the summer. That's crazy, huh? When the iron heats up, the tower can be up to 15 centimeters or 6 inches taller due to thermal expansion. You knew that.
Yeah, there's an interesting fact about Epcot Center. The ball, the geodesic sphere, the plates on there, I think, are like 5 or 6 inches spaced. So when it gets real hot and humid, that'll give a tolerance for it. So yeah, that's a pretty common thing. All right, human teeth are the only part of the body that can't heal themselves. Teeth are not made of live tissue and are coated in enamel, which can't spontaneously regenerate.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, did you know that Bert and Ernie, their names came from a Christmas movie? That's interesting.
Yeah.
The Sesame Street characters were named after Bert the police officer and Ernie the taxi driver in Frank Capra's It's a Wonderful Life. Love that movie.
Yeah, great movie. Classic. But I had no idea that that's where Bert and Ernie came from. And when I was a kid, I tell you, I loved Sesame Street. I think it started in 1968, 69.
Mm-hmm.
I was a little kid. It was fantastic. Tigers have striped skin. It's not just their fur.
That's kind of weird, huh? That's different. I never knew that. Shrimp's heart is in its head, if you didn't know that. Due to their open circulatory system, shrimp have no arteries, so their organs just float around in their blood. Interesting. Wow.
That's amazing. I think my brain is floating around somewhere. I still haven't found it yet.
Oh my goodness.
We are more creative in the shower. Now this is reasonable.
Yeah.
Here's one of the most useful, weird, fun facts. If you've ever felt like you think better in a warm shower, you're probably right. The warm water increases the flow of dopamine, which is a neurotransmitter, and makes us more creative. Now that makes a lot of sense because, you're not going to think as well if you're in a cold bath or something. I mean, the heat does help.
That's true. Now, the first airplane flight was on December 17th, 1903. That was Wilbur and Orville Wright. They took the first airplane on 4 short flights. And that was at Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. Wow. That's interesting.
And I'm sure they hold some cool festivals down in Kitty Hawk, to help commemorate it. One more thing. We did a Houdini podcast not too long ago, and I touched upon this. Houdini holds the record of flying an in-flight transference. He jumped from one plane to another. That's those old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's those old propeller ones. The guy was fearless.
That's amazing.
He was amazing. Venus is the only planet that spins clockwise every 225th Earth days. Venus travels around the sun, but Venus rotates clockwise once every 243 days.
Wow, that's interesting. People used to say, listen to this, prunes when taking pictures. In the 1840s, it was considered childish to smile for pictures. So it became popular for people to say prunes instead of cheese in order to keep their mouths taut. Now that makes sense. We saw some of those old time photographs, and they look like they're constipated.
Yeah, they look miserable. Wow, that's unbelievable.
They're never smiling. We wonder why. Now we know.
Prunes. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Three Musketeers candy bars used to come in 3 flavors. The original candy came from 1930s. They had 3 different kinds of nougat: chocolate, vanilla, and strawberry, hence the name. Unfortunately, it had to cut down to 1 during World War II due to rations being too expensive. And yeah, that stands to reason, because they had to cut a lot of things during World War II to help out.
Yeah, I think we touched on that last week about how they had to ration sugar and things. Now, here's something. Cat urine glows under a black light. Black lights can be used to detect any body fluids. But cat urine glows particularly brightly due to under an ultraviolet light, primarily because it contains the element phosphorus. That's interesting.
Interesting. And how did they find that out?
I know.
That's what I don't get.
Yeah.
But there is
must have been an accidental finding. I don't know.
I think there's a club soda, if I'm not mistaken. It has quinine in it.
Oh.
I think that glows in the dark too. I'm pretty sure. I mean, don't quote me on that. You have to check it out. All right, here's something kind of neat. You can see 4 states from Chicago Willis Tower.
Wow.
Head to the top of the building, which was formerly known as the Sears Tower. You can see Illinois, Michigan, Indiana, and Wisconsin. And I think I am familiar with hearing that, but that might be called 4 Points.
Maybe
unless
so.
I'm confused with something else. I don't know. But very interesting.
Now, a blue whale's heartbeat. It can be heard over 2 miles away. And their hearts weigh over 400 pounds. Wow, that's a lot of love.
You know what? I just showed you a picture of that the other day that popped up online.
Yes, it was huge.
It was huge. Each ventricle was large enough for a human being to climb into.
Yes, it was amazing.
Unreal. All right, here's one for all you Disney fans out there. Mickey and Minnie Mouse's voices got married in real life. Wayne Allwine, who was Mickey, and Russi Taylor, who was Minnie, were wed in 1991. Wow, that would have been something, huh? Oh, I think this woman will be my wife.
I do.
That would have been cool.
Here's something you might not know. Queen Elizabeth II, she was a trained mechanic as a teenager. Now, Queen Elizabeth II, she joined the British Employment Agency at the Labour Exchange, and she learned about truck, engine, and tire repair. Kudos to you, Queen.
Yeah, I didn't think they would touch anything, poo-poo, but hey, good for her.
Yeah.
The real name for hashtag is Octothorpe. Well, we know octo refers to the symbols of 8 points. Even Merriam-Webster is unsure about the Thorpe part. So that part's unknown.
Isn't that strange, huh? Now, back in the day, the letter J was the last added to the English alphabet. It dates back to 1524. Now, shockingly, before it became a letter, the letter I was used for both the I and the J sounds. Boy, would that be confusing.
Yeah, that would be rough. The moon has moonquakes.
Really?
Yep. Apparently, they occur due to the total stresses connected to the... Oh, excuse me. Tidal stresses. That's my age. Tidal stresses connected to the distance between the Earth and the moon. So I guess it's like quivers or shakes or something.
Must be.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Now, ketchup used to be sold as a medicine. You believe that? Back in 1834, people with indigestion, they were given a prescription for this condiment.
Wow.
And that's amazing because most people get indigestion from like tomatoes, tomato paste, and sauce. Unusual.
Yeah, you would think it would have the opposite effect. All right, here's one. You can't hum while pinching your nose. Go ahead and try. Let's see.
Try.
No, it's an off.
No.
It's an off sound. Yeah. Definitely. I guess it doesn't constitute an actual hum. All right.
Okay. An ostrich's eye is bigger than its brain. Their little brains are genuinely smaller than one of their eyeballs.
Wow.
Poor things. I guess they're not real bright.
Well, that's why they put their head in the sand, right? All right. Let's see. We got here. The Eiffel Tower was supposed to be in Barcelona, Spain, when Gustave Eiffel's design was rejected by the Spanish city for being too ugly. he pitched it to France.
Wow.
The locals weren't in love with it either. The tourists from around the world flocked to Paris to see it.
They sure do.
Well, it's amazing. So it was actually rejected, and that's one of the top visiting sites around the world. Wow.
It is. Wow. I bet they're happy they have that now. Okay. Dolphins give each other names. The way they do it, they have a unique whistle, which is used to distinguish each member of their pod. I guess a group of dolphins is called a pod. So that's kind of neat. They seem like they're very intelligent little creatures.
Yeah.
They really are.
Yeah, so my name for you is...
I love that one.
The blob of toothpaste on your toothbrush has a name.
Does it?
Yep, and it's called a nerdie. There you go. You learned something.
A nurdle.
Oh, nurdle.
Yes.
Nurdle, that's right.
You're using that I for a J sound, right? No, I'm just kidding. Okay. There's an ant species that's unique to New York City. These biologists, they found them in just a specific area of New York City, and they named them Manhattan ants. Like Manhattan,
That's cool.
Hat ants. Yeah.
New York City, what, they got their hair slicked back and they got little leather jackets, huh?
Little ants.
Yo.
I don't know.
The ancient Romans used to drop a piece of toast into their wine for good health. Hence why we say raise a toast. There you go. That's the origin.
Was that? Wow.
Pretty cool.
Now, a chef's hat has 100 pleats, and apparently it's meant to represent the 100 ways you can cook an egg. I wonder if Gordon Ramsay knows that.
Very interesting.
I only know about 2 or 3 ways to cook an egg.
Yeah, I know how to throw one. There's actually a word for someone giving an opinion on something they know nothing about. Wow, that's about 90% of the population.
Oh.
An ultra-cryptidarian is someone who voices thoughts beyond their expertise.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, I guess I'd be guilty of that too sometimes.
Huh.
We all would.
Now, this is pretty cool. You know, when you say I'll be there in a jiffy is an actual unit of time. It's 1/100th of a second.
Wow.
That's pretty darn quick. I like that.
Everyone's tongue print is different, like a fingerprint. It has unique features that differ from person to person. Now, that's interesting.
I never knew that.
That's very interesting because I know the iris of the eye. Now they're doing facial recognition, and it's not just fingerprints. It's amazing. So soon we'll be putting our tongue on a plate, and it'll open up doors and so forth.
Okay, apples, peaches, and raspberries. They're all members of the rose family. That's interesting. That's interesting because they're fruits and that's a flower.
Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah.
All right, one more. Canada eats more mac and cheese than any other nation in the world.
Just in case you wanted to know.
I love mac and cheese. So
it's a good time.
Yeah, kudos to the Canadians. I know Italy probably eats more pasta than anybody.
I would imagine.
And I'm a big pasta eater.
Manja.
Yeah, manja. But anyway, folks, thanks for tuning in. I hope you've learned something new. And tune into the House of the Unusual for our podcast and our videos on YouTube. All right. Thanks for stopping by. See you later.
Have a nice day.